Welcome back to I'm Not Old, I'm Archival. I'm your host, Jennie Walker. The thrill of sourcing vintage and archival fashion often takes us across international borders, but the reality of global trade can be a logistical minefield. Today, we're stripping away the glamour to talk about the grit, navigating tariffs, import fees, and customs duties in 2026. Whether you're a seasoned dealer or an aspiring collector, this episode is your guide to hidden costs of global sourcing. Let's dive in. Today, I had a very interesting experience working to obtain a UPS package that was caught up in customs, but on the US side, that came in from Italy. Actually, what's inside the package is a very rare catalog from Moschino brand from the 90s, and I paid a whole lot of money to have it sent to me. And it got sent, and then got sent back, and then got sent again. And then the UPS man told my doorman, we cannot deliver it. There's money due. Now, this was a package from the Italian Post, and somehow they had used UPS to bring it to the United States. And it turned out there was $46 that needed to be paid, that was part shipping and part tariffs to get it to me. So UPS knew about the package. They knew it needed to be paid, and yet in this instance, I had never received a request from UPS asking for that payment. And what happens in a normal case is that UPS will send you an invoice for you to prepay so that your package can be delivered. And it's one of these things where you never actually know how much the tariff is going to be or the extra postage or anything like that until it happens. Well, I was in a panic because I had been waiting so long for this particular catalog, and I knew today was my last day that I had to pay for it. So I finally found an 800 number, and I talked to someone who referred me to another number to the department that works with tariffs and the like, and was able to find this wonderful woman who decided to help me, and she was wonderful, and we solved all the problems. I was able to pay my invoice. They sent me a receipt. However, today the UPS was still unable to deliver the package, and thankfully I was downstairs when this happened at the front desk where I live, and I just happened to be there with the doorman was there and the UPS man was there, and they said, "Hey, don't you have a package?" And so we were talking, and I showed him my receipt on my phone where I had paid the outstanding funds, and he says, "I still can't give it to you because UPS has not yet given me the release code." And I said, "Are you sure?" And he says, "No, there's nothing I can do. You'll have to wait until tomorrow." So I got a phone call about an hour or so later from UPS who said, "Hey, we have your release code. We've just given it to the UPS representative, and he's going to deliver it to you." I said, "Well, will he deliver it tonight?" And they said, "We'll find out." So they called and they said, "No, he won't be coming back tonight. You'll get it tomorrow." Now, what had happened here was this was a package where I didn't know ahead of time that there'd be money due, and I didn't get the regular invoice that they sent and that they should send, and yet they knew on their side, but I didn't know on my side. So I'm asking myself, how did this happen? Well, one of the things that was going on with me is I'm not thinking the Italian Post is going to be using UPS International to deliver my package. So I was very confused about what package this could be. And then I realized, as my mama always used to say to me, "Now, daughter, where are you wrong in this situation?" So here you go. I'll tell you where I was wrong. I am not doing a good enough job of tracking things that have been bought overseas and making sure that I'm following them along in their routes and when they're coming to get me. So if I had known that and I'd been prepared, if I was tracking everything, I would know I have an outstanding package. And I would know to check the tracking and I would know about that. But I was not proactive. I'm very reactive where that's concerned. I'm just kind of willy-nilly and I'm like, okay, it'll show up. Well, as it turned out, once I checked the tracking, because this package had taken so long to arrive, in the tracking was the fact that it had been already been to return to the sender once and had been resent to me. So that was pretty shocking. So I was realizing, okay, I'm not monitoring my own packages well enough to avoid this from happening, because it would have been a real shame for it to go back a second time to miss out on this very important catalog that I need in order to identify all the clothing that I have by Moschino for my archive. And I routinely source in other countries. And now with the tariff changes, it's becoming more expensive than ever to do that. And yet, it's still important part of my business. It's still important to me. I still find it worthwhile to pay the extra fees because I'm looking for things that are so special that it's worth it to me to do that. So, one of the things to remember is these are new changes, and these changes are being implemented for a lot of different countries by the United States. It varies by country. Sometimes you pay it in advance, sometimes you don't pay it at all, sometimes you pay it when you get it, and sometimes the company itself is covering those fees. Like if you look on eBay, for example, you'll see a listing that'll say no tariffs. And what that means is that they're covering the cost of that instead of you having to pay it. So it's really important to ask yourself, okay, this is something coming from a foreign country. Is there going to be a tariff? Am I prepaying it? Is it cost, COD, cost on delivery? Is it something you pay after the effect? Now, I don't do enough of this to where I have an account set up with UPS, which I can do, which I asked about, where I have a representative and we're tracking everything. That's just not where I've been with my business. But after this situation, I'm realizing I'm ready for that. It's time to grow into a professional system to track incoming packages from foreign countries so that I can be on top of it and avoid this in the future. And let me tell you, I was very stressed. I was very stressed out because what I'm finding is that for my archive is that these catalogs are so hard to come by. They're so rare, and especially these older ones from the 80s and 90s, the sweet spots, and they're very hard to come by. And I have paid a lot of money to even for one catalog. I mean, more than you can even imagine, because it's that valuable to me. And my goal is to have my own home. I'll call it a home catalog, but basically, so I don't have to go to a fashion library. I want to have my own library at my fingertips at all times. And I'm talking about the physical books. I prefer that to something digital. And that is where I am headed with that. So that's what happened with the tariffs. Now, if you haven't considered sourcing in other countries, I really think you should look at that because oftentimes you can get something that's so underpriced that even with the tariffs, it makes it worthwhile. So, one of my favorite places to source, and this is pretty common, is Vestiaire Collective. I have no problem mentioning that to you because so many people buy from them. And now with the tariff changes, you can see ahead of time what that's going to be from a particular country. And what's so interesting is that essentially on some items it basically doubles the price, especially an item under $100. Like those fees really add up. And I sourced something just recently, and it was $65, and with all the fees and the tariffs and the shipping and the fee to inspect it, whatever, it was $111. So essentially, you're doubling it. Now, the item's worthwhile because it's very special, it's very rare, and I'm happy to get it. But those fees really add up. And for something that's more expensive, like $1,000 item, you might have a couple of $100 in fees. So you really have to ask yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth it to me to pay this extra fee? And for me, in every case, I've said yes. There has not been anything I wanted so badly that I wasn't willing to pay that fee. Now, is it painful? Yes. Would I rather spend that money on other inventory? Yes. The good old days of sourcing around the world and not having all these big tariffs, I mean, those are gone for now and they may come back, but it really gets me to thinking about the value. It's really valuable because when you're talking about vintage, I mean, it's been spread to the wind all over the world. It could be anywhere. I've sourced from the Ukraine, I've sourced from Australia, I've sourced from the United Kingdom, from Germany. I mean, you name it. I think just about every country I have sourced from. Not any African nations to my knowledge, but Asia. There is just that's where I've been able to find things in all these other countries. And so before the tariff situation, it was much easier to get them in. I didn't even think about it. And now you have to factor it in. So, what that does for me is it changes what I'm looking for. It makes me ask myself, is this special or is this just filler? Because if it's like a filler, I don't need to be buying it and paying those extra fees. And so it really helps me to curate kind of in advance by looking at the pricing. And I really find that it's worthwhile for me. So always keep that in mind, always factor that in, and definitely set up a program to track your packages that are coming in so that you can follow and not be surprised and not run into what I ran into, which is almost having a very valuable catalog return to sender for the second time. And that's it.